School for Yours Visual Basic Express 2010 Tutorials. Tutorial 4. Programming a simple calculator with variables, data types, and calculations. The agenda for the simple calculator is as follows. This tutorial will show data types, variables, classic string conversions, and a simple calculation. Tutorial 5 will add radio buttons, and Tutorial 6 will work with data parsing, error checking, and making the user interface more friendly. Variables are memory locations that hold data. The names cannot be reserved words and must start with a letter. It is suggested that you use something meaningful for the name of the variable and keep how the variables are named consistent throughout the code. These are some common data types that the variables will use. The integer and long integer deal with whole numbers. The single and double data types are floating point. The decimal provides the greatest number of significant digits, which is 28, but is very slow. The string is a string of characters, and within 2010 you are allowed a 2 billion long character string. The Boolean data type is either true or false. I've already created a new application, so first thing I'm going to do is change the properties of the form. I'll go to text and put in simple calculator. Then I'll go to size and I'll change the size to 500 by 450. Next I'll put in a label. I'll change the label's font to font size 16. I'll change the text to read first number. And I'll change the location to location 2521. I'll go ahead and put in a text box. Change the font size to 16. And I'll also change the name of the text box to text box num1 for the first number. The size of the text box will be 180 by 32. And I'll go change the location 3053. Next I'll need a label for the sign. I'll just put another label in. Go ahead and this time, since I'm going to call it in within the code, within tutorial 6, I'll change it to label sign. Go ahead and change the font to font size 16. Change the text. So this is a plus sign since we're just using plus right now. And the location will be 8122. Moving on, I'll go add a label to our second number. Go ahead, change the font size again to 16. The text will be second number. And the location will move to 25186. Another text box for the user to enter in the second number. Change the name to text box num2. The font again will be font size 16. Location will be moved to 3218, and I'll adjust the size 180/32. Next we'll need to place the answer, so I'll just put the answer within a label. Bring the label down, and I'll call the label answer. Font again will be font size 16. The location will change to 25 to 85. Next, put in a button for submitting the information. So I'll change the button's name to button submit. Once again, use a font size of 16. Location would be 350, and the size 127 by 60. Text, of course, will be moved to submit. And once again, I'll go ahead and add a button to quit the program. So with button 1 placed in there, I'll click on submit first, and then hold the control key down and click on button. I'll go to format and make same size, both. So both buttons now are the same size. I'll click on the form and then click and hold the new button. Go change the button name around to button quit. The font will be font size 16. You don't have to worry about the size, but I'll change the location to make it 332 by 350. And I'll go ahead and change the text to say quit. But before I get to the code, I'll just click on button submit, and I'll just change the text. Get rid of the typo, and I'll just double click on button submit and go into the code of the form. So what we're going to need is 3 variables, one for the first number, one for the second number, and one for the answer. So I'll just declare num1 as integer, dim num2 as integer, and dim the answer as integer. Okay, within button submit, let's take num1 is equal to our text box num1.text. So that's where the user puts in the information, and we'll just store that information within num1. Same thing goes for num2. So num2 equals text box num2.text. And the answer is going to equal num1 plus num2. So now we have the answer, and we'll just put the answer into our label answer dot text is equal to the answer. Alright, I'll just click on the design, go into quit, and I'll just close within quit, quitting the program. So let's go ahead and run. First number, and we get our answer there. If I try to put in decimal points, because we're using a integer data type, the decimal points will just simply round up a little bit, but we're not going to get a true answer. I'll just quit this down. And so I'll go ahead and change integer to single. So if we want to work with decimal points, we can go ahead and do that. There we are. Go ahead, run. First number, put in some decimal points, and we get a correct answer with decimal points using the single data type. Now, a couple of you are probably looking at this and saying, well, wait a minute here. We have num1 is single, but this text here is a string. So we're putting a string into a data type single. Normally we would get an error. And yes, in the past you would have, but with 2010, this is no longer a problem. So here, in the old way, we would have to convert using the val function. So we would convert the text into a value. So we could place it within a number type data type. So here within the text, we would basically have to convert the answer back into a string. So we will use the str function, short for string. And I could go ahead and run, and you'll find that it works the same way. So those who are watching this and don't have 2010, you may have to convert using the val and string.